right, ladies and gentlemen. I think we still got some people coming in. The more the merrier. Always happy to see some more folks coming into our co-sell session. Welcome, everyone. My name is Fabian Grote. I'm the worldwide co-sell lead. I love to see always when I start talking, everybody thinks like, oh, this Marine guy stands on stage. He's a US soldier guy. But then everybody realized, oh man, he has a German accent. So you got to deal with that. The next 45 minutes is going to be horrible for you. But I swear I'm doing my best to not show my accent too bad. I'm also trying to keep you from your phones the next 30 to 45 minutes. And I'm also trying to keep this as interactive as possible. Before we start, I'm trying to keep it interactive, as I said. Just some hands up. Who's co-selling with Microsoft at the moment? All right, we got the experts in the room, right? How successful are you with co-sell? Just hands up if you're satisfied with it. Good, good. A lot of hands are up. A lot of hands are up. I can see it better from up here, I can tell you. All right, cool. Now I got to assign a person who's going to be taking good pictures in the first rows because I want to share pictures with my mom after this when I'm presenting in front of this audience. Thank you so much for coming, guys. All right, let's start us off. First of all, a big thank you. What we have seen is exactly your first hand. We've seen that we have shared and worked on deals with an increased amount of satisfaction in our partner network, but also with an increased amount of satisfaction within our Microsoft sellers. So it's literally like a clapping into the hands moment. What we see is that we have, in average, increased our deal size on 30% with those partners who are designated and specialized through MAI-CPP as soon as we work on a deal together. And that's the average across Microsoft's enterprise and SMC corporate segment. This is a huge number. If you compare this into the revenue number, obviously 30% is big. What our sellers now understand, I can't do my business anymore without partners. And even though you don't see this coming in all the places, they are very selective and very clear when they need to engage partners. And they understand about the benefits of MAI-CPP. They understand, and we're going to talk about this, how much effort you put into place in order to get designated, in order to get specialized. The other thing and the other metric which I was looking into, how fast are we actually accelerating? As I told you, I'm the co-sell lead. I'm always interested in accelerating leads and opportunities as fast as possible to one stage, and then actually do new business with you. Trying to create new business in order to provide revenue growth for you, but also to our company. We are right now accelerating our deal velocity 2 times, which means as soon as a Microsoft seller or a partner interacts on a deal together, we are 2 times faster without this collaboration. So a big thank you. This was a very successful year to us. And I believe not only these numbers show it, hopefully also the way how we educated you and how we have seen you interacting through Partner Center or directly with our Microsoft sellers, it's an evidence to you that we are very committed and that we are highly partner inclusive. When I think about co-sell, what I'm always starting with is MAI-CPP. And the reason why I can say MAI-CPP as fast as I can, MAI-CPP, 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 try to do that, because I'm saying it every day at least 30 up to 40 times. When we are up at our stage and talk about co-sell in our MAI-CPP area, everybody wants to understand, how do I co-sell if I have not had the chance to actually get deeper with my designation and specializations? MAI-CPP to us is the way how we help partner to scale. It's the way for us to unlock new benefits that support growth on both of our ends, as I said, in regards to revenue or in regards to other items which might be important to you in regards to specialization or skilling. But it also drives the alignment of incentives. And incentives are important to us. We're going to have one of our Partner of the Year here on the stage in just a second. And we're actually going to talk about the way how we can utilize incentives to enable more co-sell. But we also use MAI-CPP to align sales opportunities. And what it means to us on aligning sales opportunities, we start with MAI-CPP as a foundation in order to co-sell with us. But I want to call out, MAI-CPP is not a guarantee to co-sell. It's an eligibility on being visible and on being recognized by our Microsoft sellers for collaborative selling. So never read out of our MAI-CPP explanation that you have guaranteed co-sell. I'm going to come to this in just a second when we talk about the value of co-sell, but I also want to set the right expectations, right? When we look into the development of MAI-CPP designation and specializations, as you know and as you heard during the general session, we have seen a big growth since July 2023. And the growth comes from the fact that we build designations which are serving for the business. Not serving only for Microsoft Business. Obviously, it's a partner program. This investment is the biggest investment Microsoft has in the space of partners. There is a huge P&L to that. It's a huge investment in regards to the way how we think about the evolution. And hopefully you are our witnesses that we are actually designing and integrating, but also innovating together. SMB as a designation, for example, which we announced, but also cloud solution designations for ISVs, or how we call them solution partners since March this year, are extremely important. And I cannot underscore the importance of this as much as I do. At the end of the day, without designation specializations, you're not going to come to the stage on co-selling with Microsoft. It is your entry gate. Now, as I hammered on this like a few times, let's talk about co-sell itself. What is co-sell as a definition within Microsoft? There are two types of co-selling. One side is, how I call it, IP solution-based selling, and the other side is capability service-based selling. The differentiation there is that on the IP side, we have pre-built software solutions. They are actually, I would say, plug and play, right? They can be adaptable to any customer case or specific customer case, but they are easy to customize. And often they are variable through marketplace, which is important to us. On the capability service-based side, we actually have highly tailored solutions, very unique service offerings, execution offerings for customers, which are, again, tailored to the specific customer need. Hopefully, everybody in the room can either decide on left or right, or even on both sides. But this is a very important, I would say, differentiation to understand how we engage partners. Based on our Microsoft co-sell IP or capability selling capabilities within our ecosystem, we decide which partner to engage in a co-selling motion. When we think about the MAI Cloud Partner Program, MAI-CPP goes fast off my tongue, as you just realized. So Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program, so that was my little mistake, if somebody is taking like a little note here. We have co-sell as one of the basic foundations in there, right? Like, it is important to understand that we combine benefits, skilling, the designation specialization, which I just mentioned, incentives equal to co-sell. What was even more important for me as the co-sell leader, together with our organization, is that we co-sell intentionally. Intentionally means to us, we all understand how Microsoft is looking at a sales cycle with our customers. And again, an interactive session, and I see that not too many people are on their phone, so you're still following me, which is awesome. Hands up for those people who know MSAM. MSAM for partners, yeah, okay. Perfect, beautiful. I would say 50% of the room. Fortunately, I have a slide on that, so I'm going to talk you through this in a second. It's becoming extremely important to understand that. We recognize the efforts of partners, by the way. Like, we know how much effort you put into place in order to be part of this program. We know that you invest heavily in there. We also know that you train your people in order to become specialized, in order to become certified skilled, to be more and highly recognized by Microsoft sellers in any co-selling engagement on an opportunity. But it's also important to understand that as soon as you're part of MAI-CPP, and as soon as you're part of sharing leads with us through Partner Center, we're going to look after your attainment at this moment, right? Like, we want to understand what your capabilities are. At the end of the day, and that's the other thing which I want to call out, besides all the MAI-CPP designation specializations, it's also important to have a history with us. I'm going to talk about this deeper when I have Alyssa Fitzpatrick on stage, when we do our little interview session here. But it's core that you understand that the performance on co-selling also relies in a continuous engagement with Microsoft. And I'm going to give you some tips today, right? Like, you should go out of this room and say, okay, now I know actually how to improve my co-selling with Microsoft to get more out of it for my company. When we think about the foundation in itself, one thing which is important when I think about capacity, MAICPP informs us on, do we have the right capacity for co-selling in a certain region or on a certain solution area level, right? So it is an informative tool to us to also know, can our partners deliver what our Microsoft sellers are right now seeking for, which is inclusive, as I said, from geography standpoint, from solution area standpoint, or in future even from an industry standpoint. The structure of itself is going to inform us how we best put our benefits against co-selling efforts. As I explained on my previous slide, as also Nicole Diesen explained during her general session, it is extremely important to understand that everything is interlocked. Everything is connected to each other. You can create better results by utilizing incentives into your co-selling motion, and that's also which we're going to cover today. When we think about Microsoft sellers, what we want to make sure as the Microsoft co-sell team, we want to make sure that you come in front of the seller with the right offering, with the right IP. So depending on what you are actually bring to the customers, we want a clarity on how deep you can engage together with our Microsoft sellers to bring value to the customer who's in the center of every conversation for us. And then we talk about platform, right? Like when we think about platform, it's around the simplification and the improvements we do together with you. I'm going to talk you through the things what we have changed in Partner Center, the things which are going to come for our internal CRM system to give you also more confidence that there's just not, I would say, like a very easy UI and you just put something in there and nobody's calling for Microsoft. No, we put an AI logic behind there. There are triggers which we're going to influence through Copilot, which are going to increase the business for you and also for Microsoft. Let's talk about the value of co-sell. And I'm happy that the majority of the hands went up when we talk about co-selling. I'm always keen to understand where the problems lay. And it's not because I'm German and I'm trying to engineer the things out of heck. No, I'm trying to understand how can we get closer and how can we actually serve for the need on your side first. And then we think about Microsoft with the customer in the center, as I explained before. First, let's discuss why we actually co-sell, right? The primary reasons are joint success. And for sure, we are solving a joint problem, which is maybe on the customer side or an opportunity on the customer side. At the end of the day, it means to both of our companies, we can scale and innovate better. Every time when I'm on a stage on any internal audiences, right, our Microsoft sellers always ask me about the value of partners. And the first value I bring in is, well, partners have more insight than you in best case, because you're deeper engaged with the customer. But in other cases, there might be the reasons that we have deeper engagement with the customer where you want to emphasize that your collaboration should be important for this specific opportunity. So really think about the joint co-selling motion and the reason why around scaling and innovation together. And it goes along the sales stages. It goes along the way how we actually think about the engagement with customers from an inspiring stage down to the one stage, and then think about cross and upselling. Successful collaboration. I've been on this booth not as many times as my colleague here, who's part of our team, but I can tell you I was only 30 minutes or 45 minutes on our booth where we talk about co-sell, and two questions always came up. First question is, can I really trust you guys? Can I share a lead? And can I make sure that this is not shared with others? And then the second one was, what kind of quality do you need in order to get recognized? So let me tackle the first question. Microsoft is built on trust, which means anything we do is with a security first and with a data first mindset. Meaning we will never share any information which you share in Partner Center with third party. For our Microsoft sellers, that would be a horrific situation if somebody finds out that they share something which you as a partner upload into Partner Center with another partner. It's just not happening. What is happening though, and we should be clear on that, if you identify an opportunity in the customer, it does not mean that another partner does not see this opportunity with the customer at the moment. It can happen at the same time. So we're going to have two opportunities from the same customer with the same reasoning from two different partners. What it becomes extremely critical is my second point, quality in the system. If we understand good that you have a depth insight of the customer need, and you have a clear description on customer value propensity, customer need on a solution area basis, potentially the customer need in regards to the industry. So as soon as you put deaf information on there, this is how you build trust with our sellers. And this is how you're going to get recognized with our sellers on engaging proactively with you. I cannot underscore it more important. Trust between our companies is the highest value we have within co-selling. What is in for you? First of all, it gives you access to Microsoft sellers and customers. To my point of scaling, it's an extended sales arm for you. With our enterprise organization, with highly certified and highly trained people on the solution specialist side, with highly trained people on the consumption side, it gives you an opportunity to go deeper into the customer where maybe your scale ends, or you just don't want to scale into this direction, for example, right? So it's an extended arm. And it increases scale and velocity. We talked about velocity before. It just accelerates the deal, and at the end of the day, it gives you the opportunity to cross or upsell in a very rapid and advanced manner. Quality engagement, I hit on this point already. When we think about sharing a deal, it's always important for us that you share with quality. I know that there are a lot of people in this room who's gonna tell me, well, there's a Microsoft person calling me as soon as I put a referral into Partner Center, and I see some smiling faces, so I hit the right point. It's happening because the quality is not in the system. We're gonna call you if we do miss information within a referral which you put into the system. It is important to us that we have quality which a Microsoft seller can engage on. But what we also ensure is, from our end, that our sellers don't share everything with you, being very specific when they share something, and being very clear on the needed help they see for the customer outcome. When we think about the unlocking creator success, we already talked about the way how we think about capabilities, when we talk about the way how you leverage on MAI CPP in order to start your journey with co-selling. What we haven't talked about is how you actually make sure that you have clarity on, this is how I engage in an area. Which means to us, at the end of the day, we want to understand your capacity in a certain geography. Microsoft sellers are engaging on a regional area level. So it becomes extremely important for us to understand, how do you actually impact ABC geography if you're a global partner, or if you are a partner who is only limited to one geography, how do you bring your specialization into place in this certain geography? Why is it important? We just don't have enough, I would say, capacity in some areas where we can say that we utilize the right partners. We always want to go with those partners who have proven their investment through MAI CPP, who have proven their knowledge through MAI CPP in an area where we want to engage them. So being specific on the area and the geography is extremely important to us. Aligning investments is what I have talked about before. We want to see that you utilize on offers, that, for example, you go into Fast Track, that you utilize Azure Migrate. All these great offerings are out there, and we want to see in a co-sell motion that they actually get leveraged on. One of the big performance criteria for us to see if it is a future interaction for us in order to get into other customer cases or not, which goes beyond MAI CPP designation specialization as I referenced before. One thing which we have changed in planning together since I'm here is the deep integration of partners into planning. What I've seen, at least in 2020, 21, we always talked about, well, we're going to engage partner early. We're going to call them as soon as we see a customer opportunity. And every time when I was at a partner convention doing these days digital, we got the feedback, that's not really happening. Like, we still don't see an early engagement. What we changed now, going into FY25, so since July this year, we are very specific with our sellers on an engagement of specific partners with designation specializations who show co-sell performance in history within their account and territory planning. So as soon as we go into account planning, partners are part of it. You'll be sitting on the table with the account planning team when it comes to new customer opportunities when they engage you early. There are still cases where we see that sellers are using partners as a transaction vehicle, but we are driving the education to come to planning early and early engagement along our MSAM sales stages. Well, and then execute and deliver, right? That's nothing else what I have already discussed. It's around accelerating the deal. It's around jointly driving customer success, being specific on what does the customer actually need in next phase, Where is a cross-sell possible towards a different solution area? Where is an upsell possible, maybe going into depth with advanced specializations in a certain solution area? This all happens in a joint manner. It's all happening together with Microsoft sellers and partners in best case. Why I bring up referral types? Because I was just referencing around co-selling. I also want to be transparent that within Partner Center, you have different ways of engaging with Microsoft. Let's start with the happy path, right? When I think about my role and what is important to my role, I'm going to emphasize co-selling. So I start with that. Co-selling is when you actually go into Partner Center and say, this is a co-sell deal, and I want to engage with Microsoft. Very clear, very straightforward. Happy path to me, because we're going to collect a lot of information from you. You get a lot of information from our Microsoft sellers in best case if the referral or the opportunity gets picked up, and you run smoothly through the MSAM stages. I described the best case scenario. The best case scenario is not always happening as smooth as I described it, I know, because I see some eyebrows going up. However, this is what co-selling should look like. Partner-led. Well, I'm the co-sell lead, which does not mean that I don't like partner-led. I want to emphasize that partner-led is still important. It is important for you to put a referral as a partner-led into Partner Center, because it gives us the opportunity to understand where your capacity, but also your capabilities sit. You don't need help from Microsoft in this case, maybe. You don't even want to engage with Microsoft, but it gives us a better visibility on how do you execute the customer deal. How would you be in a co-selling motion if we would have done this together? So I emphasize here, even though co-sell is the happy path, still register deals if you want to do them by yourself in order to prove your performance, in order to prove and show us what you are capable of for future cases. There's another option called private deal. I don't know if any one of you have used it before, but private deal is really the isolated path. The isolated path in terms of no engagement with Microsoft sellers, no interaction with Microsoft sellers or any others. I just going to put this into the system so my PDM, if I'm a managed partner, for example, has visibility that I have pipeline sitting here, right? In case you are a managed partner, you might want to use this in your collaboration with your PDM. Partner to partner, one of my favorite topics. And I really do hope that you do this already. But we know that we cannot do everything. And sometimes when Microsoft is actually engaging you on a deal, you realize, oh, my capabilities, or maybe I'm even low on capacity in a certain workload, it's worth to look after other partners. And we have put a lot of effort in the past into introducing partners with each other, emphasizing the need on extending your sales, your innovation between partner engagements. I know it's happening. It's also something which we want to bring up here, because it's important to understand for us, as soon as you're in a partner-to-partner engagement, who does what. We want to understand if partner A is responsible for the service and partner B is responsible for the IP solution, we like to be able to differentiate that. Let's go through Partner Center as an UI. And I think the majority have seen Nicole Deason's presentation, so I'm actually stealing it from my boss. And all I do here is I'm going to emphasize that we are working with Copilot and AI systems to make things smarter. I told you before that we are sometimes calling you. As soon as we are missing information or information are not like as precise as we are looking for it, that's the reason why we do this. First of all, we're going to create a UI which is enabling you to find the right information you actually need to put into the system, easing up the process at itself. And with prompts, for example, it can mean how can you earn, for example, incentives by product type. Could be super beneficial to you to learn this in Partner Center. But it could also mean that you want to get a top-performing reseller or a top-performing partner in a partner-to-partner motion. This is just one of the great examples which we put into Partner Center in order to make things more intelligent, in order to make it more smooth for you to interact with us within Microsoft. What we also do, and that's a little slide which you can also take a picture of because, and the cameras go up. Actually, it's not a picture slide, but it's fine. I asked for it, and I was allowed to share this. On the left side, you see MSX. MSX is our internal CRM system. So what we do on the Partner Center side, obviously, we want to do the same for our sellers. We want to have a smooth and easy-to-discover partner journey. We want to make sure that our sellers have it as easy as possible to find their top partners for their deal. But you also want to make sure that the sellers are very specific on what they actually need. So bringing these two worlds together is what we do in our internal system. With the information through Copilot, bringing propensity models into place from historic data. For example, giving them a feeling on how could this deal develop if I have a partner now included here. But also, how do I find the partner for a specific solution area, maybe with an advanced specialization, but also with a partner-to-partner model, like going deep into the system and informing those next steps through Copilot AI information. On the right side, you see a lot of bullet points, which I actually just hit in my talking track. I just don't remember what it was for new experience, but I think it was the last one which I just mentioned, which is the UI. It's easier for them to find partners. That's what it's all about. Right now, they are challenged with the fact that there's overwhelming amounts of partners recommended to them, and then they go with the first choice, which is most cases the partners they have interacted before. When we look into our dedication towards pipeline, and I want to underscore the importance here, we are committed to share pipeline with you, which is bringing you to higher growth in your revenue, higher standards in regards to the way how we can interact with Microsoft, and the confidence that this is actually ending up in a win how you like to see it from a customer need perspective. What we have seen since FY24, we have shared 93% more deals towards partners, 93%. But what we also did is we have been more precise on sharing deals. So if you're now saying, well, I haven't seen like an uptake of the double of size of opportunities coming to me, that might be the reason that you're not as deep in your specialization. You not have a track record in co-sell yet. You're going to come there, though. As long as you keep interacting with us, as long as you stick to the principles which I explained to you around co-selling in Partner Center and partner-led recommendation or partner-led referencing, this is going to lead to more business for you also with Microsoft sellers. What we also have seen is a 15% growth in shared deals with actually a win rate connected to it. Also here, we go across all the segments. We go across our SMC corporate. We go across our enterprise segment. These numbers are huge. And I don't know if you had the chance to listen to Start for Partners. I presented this slide, and we have highest recognition from most of the partners who actually see an uptick because they specialize themselves and they go deeper into the way how they interact with us. They get smarter in the way how they actually build their incentives around it. All right. Key takeaways. Actively manage your referrals. Be precise with this. Create and share co-sell deals, but also don't be shy to put deals into the system where you do not need help from Microsoft, aka partner-led. And hey, ask for help. If you don't have a PDM and you get stuck in Partner Center, the Partner Center help team, they are good. They can help you in 90% of the cases, and otherwise you're going to go to the next help desk model. At the end of the day, it's important for us that you do not get stuck in the system at itself. We want you to have a smooth experience within Partner Center. Besides identifying help, we are always happy to get feedback. Extremely important for us in order to optimize our system in this direction. I move us from referral sharing and from opportunity management towards MSAM, our Microsoft Customer Engagement Methodology. The majority of the hands went up when I asked if you are familiar with MSAM, and I really hope that after this session you're going to get even deeper with that. Anyone within Microsoft understands MSAM. We have done huge efforts throughout the last 3 years on educating our sales force, educating our product group, educating anyone within Microsoft on understanding how we engage customers as the center. Our customer engagement is regulated through 5 stages, and they are 5 sales stages, right? In the listen and consult stage, we start by identifying customer needs, and we generate inbound referrals on your end. So this is the point when you actually reach out to Microsoft, hey guys, I need help, or I want to interact with you on a lead or an opportunity then. The second stage is actually the active co-selling course, because what happens here is, in most cases, our SDU, our specialist, they're going to accept the shared opportunity. They're going to look after the solution area alignment. They're going to look after if there's a pivot towards industry in there. And they'll be very precise on, are we going to turn this into our internal CRM, aka MSX opportunity, to engage the partner at this stage. Early engagement is extremely important, as I said before, because in the inspire and design stage, we're also going to talk to our customers on what do we actually want to roll out here? What do we want to do together with Microsoft and our partners in order to serve your need? When we think about the empowerment and the achieve stage, what we do here is actually we're going to prove our concept. It's solely centered around a scenario-based POC, where we introduce to our customer what we are trying to solve for. And this is always happening in a joint effort. It's between a Microsoft seller, if it's a managed account, and it's with our partner, solution or service-based. In realized value, we actually deliver the scenarios which we've discussed in the point of in the concept phase, right? So we are trying to implement and we are trying to understand, is the implementation going to be successful? Is the customer satisfied with it? That's also the moment where we're going to ask our partners, do you see anything else coming up with these customers? Where we ask our Microsoft sellers, are we satisfied with the partner solution delivering towards the customers? Which then moves us to the last stage, which is actually the management and the optimization of the case. Or we would call it in Old English, cross-sell and upsell. This is where we actually talk about the rollout. It is finalized. Now let's talk about dev integration into other workloads within a certain solution area as an example. So all this makes our MSAM for partners a very successful joint engagement. Anyone in our organization gonna understand where you are in the sales stage as soon as you're precise on MSAM. We're gonna measure it on milestones. Our Microsoft sellers will understand in which direction you're heading if we are very precise on the MSAM stages. So emphasizing here, get familiar with MSAM for partners. I actually used the short term for it, MSAMP. We have great value there. I'm not asking you to adapt Microsoft sales methodology. I'm asking you, where do you have similarities? Try to get as close as possible in a joint language so that you talk the same language like our Microsoft sellers to be very closely aligned. And at the end of the day, we have launched a lot of courses around it. Like last year, we started to actually have MSAM for partners learning courses. Now we have a foundational training. So please take advantage of it, roll it out within your company, and inform your employees around it. All right. Let me go into an interactive session. And that's going to be a fun part now, where you're going to hear from one of our partners, Elastic, how they actually apply MSAM, how they actually going to improve the way how we do lead sharing. So I'm going to welcome on the stage Alyssa Fitzpatrick, who's the Senior VP of Partnership at Elastic. Hey, Alyssa.
Hello.
You can sit down. We have a little shed here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I would shake your hand, but...
Yeah, I see that you can't shake your right
anyone
hand.
out there that has had rotator cuff surgery, I feel you. I'm going through it right now. So, recovering, but I'm almost done.
All right. Alyssa, you're not only the partner of the year this year, as we learned from Nicole, but you also did amazing things with your company when it comes to co-selling. I think everything what I just explained, it feels like that you are the professionals in that. So we really want to use you now to give our audience a better feeling on how you actually can share practices which they can apply, and also how you think about the way how you utilize investments together with Microsoft to really make business grow for Elastic in first place, right? But before we do that, maybe you want to leave some words in regards to into your introduction, anything which I missed?
Sure. So I run the partner organization at Elastic. And Elastic is an AI search company. And you guys might have heard a little bit about us yesterday from Nicole. So we did win Partner of the Year this year from the Americas organization. And that is no small feat, and especially for an ISV. And so I do think that it's important to understand the context of where I'm coming from, which is an ISV. And there are services partners in the audience and resellers, I'm sure. But where I'm coming from is the context of an ISV. But you also, if you are a services partner or a reseller partner, part of the beauty of the Microsoft ecosystem is leveraging the other partners that are there. And so when you do see partners like ourselves or other partners that are winning Partner of the Year, that's a great place to go and start to build a practice as well. And so think about expanding your universe as well when you look at the ecosystem and what those opportunities are. So I do come from a long history of partnering in the industry, over 30 years. So I have spent some time at Microsoft as well, so I'm quite familiar with the way that Microsoft works. But it's very, very unique for every company and how they work with Microsoft. So you have to listen to what Fabian is saying and the guidance that you hear, but then you need to digest that in your own lens. And what does that mean for your company and how you go about operationalizing it? So I do think it's important to take some learnings, but you do need to apply it to how it works for your company because we're all a little bit different. And so when I talk about what we've done from an Elastic front, it comes from who we are as a company and how we reached out with Microsoft and built a trusting model and how we adopted a lot of the guidance, the suggestion, the innovation, the practices, and the programs that Microsoft offered. We brought them all in and decided what worked for us. And I think that's really important that everyone's going to have their own view on it.
That's awesome. Perfect introduction, I think, along those lines, which I actually hit on, right? When you think about the first item which we have here on our slide, it's all around lead sharing and the way how you actually applied MSAM with a component like of Partner Center, giving clarity to your sellers on how should you actually use Partner Center and what do you actually upload there, how you should qualify opportunities. So maybe it would be important to understand for our audience here, how did you actually look into lead sharing at itself and how you apply it into your Partner Center interactions?
So I think that's actually a really good question to touch on because it is very hard to control your sellers, right? It's really hard to tell them, here's what you need to do and here's exactly how you need to do it. They are independent operators and they are coin operated. And so it's very hard to be influential in asking them to do almost administrative tasks. And so what we decided to do at Elastic is make sure that every lead that we put into Partner Center and every touch we have to the system is consistent. So we actually funnel our lead sharing through a team. So every lead that we share with Microsoft is consistent. It has the right data. It has the right information. We don't get phone calls from you because we've figured that out. And I would recommend if that is something that you have the capability of doing, that actually speeds up your sales process. It speeds up the engagement because if you put the right information in to Partner Center, then it will get the right connection. If you are very explicit and very direct about what you need, hey, I need some help with a customer, this is the person I'm working with, or actually I need a POC and I need to tap into ESIF, or I need to do these different things. Be very, very clear in your ask when you're putting it into Partner Center. That helps to accelerate the process. There's no phone calls back and forth. And so if you do have the ability to have a consistent process, that helps a lot. Secondly, you've heard this from Fabian, engage early. So don't be the 11th hour trying to wheel in Microsoft to help you get a deal over the line. Not only is that not a good experience for everyone involved, they're not going to want to call back next time, right? Every engagement you have is building your credibility and your rapport. And so be sure you know what you want, but also engage as quickly and as early as possible so that you have enough time to flesh out those conversations. Make sure you're all on the same page and engage better. Because the opportunity to grow the deals, honestly, is so much bigger if you engage early. If you engage late, you're closing the deal that's on the table. But if you engage early, you still have time to grow it together. So be consistent, provide the right data, do it as quickly as possible, and then follow up. Make sure you're engaging and you're following through on that. And if you are putting in a co-sell opportunity and your seller is not bought in, don't do it. Because if you're going to ask for co-selling, make sure that your side of the street is clean. Okay? So make sure that you're actually willing to co-sell and that your seller is going to have the right behavior when they engage with Microsoft.
I love it. I think you hit on several points there. It's quality, it's a unified approach in regards to how you actually get data into the system, how you ensure that the quality is set in a streamlined way. So no matter which seller is actually interacting in there, you always have the right information in place. So you boosted your Azure consumed revenue by 50%, and you even increased marketplace with 30%. Is that all going back to like the way how you actually engage in Partner Center, or are there any other hints you want to give our audience on co-selling with us?
Well, you guys, you got the cheat sheet yesterday. 5 priorities, right? Those are Microsoft's priorities for the year. It is important that you understand that if you want to co-sell with Microsoft, then you want to follow their priorities. And do you guys remember the 5th priority? Migration, migration, migration. Well, that's kind of our #1 priority. So it's very synergistic in our approach. So what we're trying to accomplish as a company is migration to cloud. Let's get everyone to the cloud. And so because we have a synergy in that, it really streamlines our engagement. And so there are 4 other priorities that are critical, right? We heard about those. We heard a lot about AI. That's a very critical strategy for us. And we have done everything we can to integrate from a product perspective around AI. So we have the Azure native AI service. So you can actually select Elastic within Azure in the Azure portal. So we've done those deep integrations through our technology, and we continue to do so. When you talk about the Copilot, we're in there. We've got 3 ways of activating the AI Copilot with Elastic. And so we work together with engineering on both fronts on where are we going with AI, but how are we migrating to the cloud? And that has been really critical because we can walk into Microsoft and we've got 2 strategies, AI and migrations. And those are 2 of their top 5. So I would encourage all of you, make sure that what your company is doing aligns to one of those 5 priorities and then just keep talking about it. Because that's what's going to get the time and attention from Microsoft. Because when you speak their language, then they're listening and they're actually there selling alongside you. And that's what you're going for. So our increase in migrations is a lot to do with working together from a product perspective, working together from a sales perspective and Partner Center, but also ensuring that Marketplace first was a strategy for our company, and then making sure that we follow through and we're working through all the ROI and all the metrics and we know how we're performing together. And so when I bring all those pieces of the recipe together, that's what's showing the growth year over year.
Beautiful, I love it. I think you hit on all the priorities which we have seen yesterday. When I think about your go-to-market, when I think about your market presence, what I realize with Elastic is you are more or less everywhere, like everywhere where you want to be, though. So maybe you want to share with the audience, when it comes to co-selling, how do you actually ensure that you go to market with Microsoft at the right point of time to the right set of customers you want to address?
So we work extraordinarily hard on that. And it's a tireless effort in our marketing organization to make sure that as we bring together marketing events and when we're using our go-to-market dollars together, it is impactful. And so we have a very, very strong rate of marketing leads turning into sales qualified leads because we've got the right message. We've worked hard to get the right message together. We're reaching into the right customers. And so our message is landing. It's what they want to hear. And they're coming back for more. So think about what you're taking to market. Make sure it works together with Microsoft, and there is a pull from both sides. Because if all you're doing is bringing Microsoft along with you, they're not going to be scooting from the behind, right? They're not going to be pushing this across the line. But if you're both working together and you have a synergistic message and you're going to customers that are eating what you're trying to sell, Microsoft's going to be behind you and supporting you with those deals. So it's really, really important to work hard on identifying your customers, getting the right message, and then working it together. So homework, homework, homework. So important to do. And I'm very lucky because our Elastic marketing team is outstanding. And when they work with Microsoft, it's the 1 + 1 is 10. So I'm thrilled with the way that we've leveraged our go-to-market dollars because it's been very, very impactful to our company. But I also know it's been impactful to Microsoft.
Beautiful. I love it. When I talked about MAICPP, obviously, I mean, besides COSA, we have incentives. We have our designation specializations. We have the way how we skill our people. When we think about incentives, though, in particular, maybe you want to share with the audience what you do with Microsoft incentives to get like a bigger reach into customers, or how you accelerate deals in co-selling with Microsoft?
Yeah, and so this is, again, a unique decision that each company has to make on their own. So let's talk about Azure Modernize and Migrate, AMM. What we do is when we get those incentives or those rebates back from Microsoft, we funnel those straight to our customers. So this is a customer incentive for us because it allows us to engage the customer again and drive additional opportunity. If we were to just put that to our bottom line, okay, that could help the company to a degree, but it's not growing our future business. So we made a decision early on that every dollar we get back from you from these incentive programs, we push into our customers. So we drive these as customer incentives. And we're very, very clear with our customers in what we're doing so that they see the benefit in that. Again, I go back to the fact that we have a really strong marketing organization that allows us to do the great marketing together so we can feed our customers with these incentives. So think about how you're processing the incentives and look at the big picture. Is this working for you for the long term, for next year's deal and the deal after that? Or are we just making sure we've got something coming in the bottom line this quarter? I encourage you guys to think long term and consider what the impact can be when you take your incentives and apply them in a different way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Last but most important question to me, actually, when I look after a whooping result of 84% conversion rate, that's what I see on the screen here, from marketing qualified leads to actually sales accepted leads, right, within Microsoft converted opportunities. It goes back to the things what you discussed in regards to quality. It goes back to the things what we have discussed in regards to utilization of incentives. Is there anything else you can share with the audience in regards to the way how you actually ensure that not only the quality leads to sales acceptance, but maybe the interaction with Microsoft sellers?
Absolutely. So again, making sure that what you're putting into Partner Center is qualified. When you're doing marketing events, making sure that you're really target marketing, and so that you do have the opportunity to convert those into sales leads. But the final point is trust. And it really, we heard Fabian talk about the sharing of data, and that's one level of trust. It's the human engagement that happens. It's the working together. And we would not see a growth like what we see on the board of 84% if we didn't have an underlying trust between our organizations. And that's come from years of working together. We've been co-innovating for over 3 years. We've been co-selling and working together in the field for a number of years. And so we've built that trust. But if you rewind about 5 years ago, we had a long way to go. So if you're sitting in the audience right now and you're like, oh, I'm just starting, it's possible to be sitting here in just a couple of years. So the challenge is there, the programs are there, the incentives are there. Again, think about what works for your company and then realize that we're all trying to close business together. We're not competing. We're all trying to raise all technology boats and really see how AI can affect our industry. And so we're all in this together. And if you extend just a little bit of trust and start to engage, it will be given back to you. But make sure that you communicate often, early, and consistently. Probably my last statement would be communicate as much as you possibly can. Good news or bad news, it's all communication, and that's what builds trust. And that will help you get to an 84% growth rate.
Awesome. Alyssa, I couldn't think of any better closing words than that. Thank you so much for coming. Fast recovery for your shoulder, right? And thank you all for actually joining the co-sell session. I hope it was very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you all.